Have you seen those beautiful accordion looking potatoes that we call Hasselback potatoes and wondered how in the world are those made? Well, today I'm going to show you how to cut them and how to air fry them. They are super easy, much easier than you might imagine. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe may not seem simple because it looks so fancy. I mean, they're beautiful. Hasselback potatoes are absolutely gorgeous. And I was always intimidated to make them because I thought, oh no, I'm going to cut right through the potato. It's not going to look like that. But surprisingly, they are very easy to do, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. First thing you want to do is pick out your potatoes. Now, the size doesn't really matter. It's more about the shape and that they're even and close in shape if you're going to do multiple potatoes, and that is so they all cook evenly, okay? So what I have here is 2 russet potatoes. These are about 9-ounce potatoes. So somewhere between 8 and 9 ounces is perfect for the timing and temperature in this recipe. If you want to go up to the really big 1-pound ones, you're going to need to adjust your temperature and your timing, and I'll go over that a little bit later in the video. So you can also see that these are pretty uniformly shaped. So you want to have your potatoes as uniform as you can get them. So if they're bumpy or have like little divots in them, skip by those for the Hasselback potatoes. It's going to make it a lot harder to cut if they're all uneven. So these are pretty good. Then you just need to get 2 butter knives, or you could use chopsticks, but I found that using the thick end of a butter knife was easier for me. Now, I'm going to warn you though, when I go to cut these potatoes, if you have any sensitivity with your hearing, you might want to turn the volume down because you will hear that click of the knife on the metal, okay? So I just wanted to pass that along because it can be really annoying for some people. All right, so you're going to set your potato in between the 2 butter knives like this. Bring them close to the potato. Now, what happens sometimes with the ends of the potato, especially this little tapered end, is it's up a little bit more. So if I went straight through to slice and went down to the butter knife, it would cut through the potato. I know this because I've done it about 25 times. I've tested this recipe a lot. So don't do that. There's 2 ways you could do it. You can move your potato down so that it is touching, and then you can use your butter knife as a guide. But what I usually do is I don't bother with that. I just go 3/4 of the way through. Now watch me. I'm gonna probably cut through it again. It's okay. It's no big deal if you do, okay? You just have an end that's cut off. It's no big deal. All right, so you want thin slices all the way around, or all the way across your potato, I should say. So I try to make them about 1/8 to 1/4 inch, and I try to make them uniform. So if you're not comfortable doing those close together slices, you can do them a little bit bigger, but try to make them uniform so that your potato cooks evenly, because the thinner the slice, the more it's going to cook on the top, especially the top. The bottom's still connected. So we'll get to that in a minute, because that's what caused so much problems with me air frying the Hasselbacks. The bottom was not getting done and the top was getting too done. And I didn't want to tell you that you had to cook this for 2 hours at a low temperature. So I've made a discovery though, and that's why I have 2 appliances out here, because I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. All right, so let's go ahead and start cutting. So I just take my knife, and you do want a sharp knife, and I go down about 3/4 of the way, and then I go to the next one, and I do this manually for about 1 inch of the potato, okay? Then when I get here, I use my knife, my butter knives as a guide. I might not quite be there yet. Let me do one more slice manually. You could do it. There we go. All right. So now you see how it clicks there, and it clicks, and it clicks. Now we're in business. Now watch your fingers. Okay. So what I just did, it's no big deal if you do this. I do it almost every time, is I sliced it starting here, but have my knife at an angle. So it sliced through and actually cut off this potato. I just stick it right back in. I usually test that one for doneness. All right, and we're just gonna keep going here. Again, the thinner the slices, the better, but don't be too worried about that. I just did it again. It's okay, don't worry. All right, keep going. So I just did it again. Oh my gosh. Now that is a record. I've never done 3 in one potato, but anyway, go figure. All right. So once I get now I did 4 in one potato. Just shove it right back in there. Once I get to about this side, I flip it over because I can hold on here a little bit safer. So I just flip it over and do the same thing. Now this end is a little bit thicker, so it goes down. So let's see, can I use the knives as a guide right now? I don't want to cut it off. No, not quite. But right there I can, okay? Watch your fingers. Oops, 5. That is definitely a record. All right, and then when I get right here, I really try to pull my fingers back, and we've got one more slice to make and just go right through. There we go. 6. So I did 6 that came out. Now I could take these out. That would actually give me more room for these to open up. So that's an option too. But I'm just going to leave them in for this. Okay. Now that is how you cut your Hasselback. So on the underside, it's completely intact. But here we've got these nice accordion like slices. And what happens is as it air fries and as these almost like potato chips, really, I think of these as a cross between a potato chip and a baked potato, because when they're done perfectly, you can actually pull out a piece and it just breaks off the bottom, and it's like eating a crispy potato chip because they get really, really nice and crispy. All right, then totally optional, but I suggest it. A bowl of water, cold water, soak your potato. I put it upside down and get some of that starch out. I soak mine for 30 minutes. What that does, I feel like anyway, I think it cooks it more evenly. So I think you have a better end result. It's not real starchy. You have more of a crisp chip. So I like that personally. And also it fans out the potato a little bit more. So you just have a pretty presentation, okay? So if you don't want the starch to be removed from your potato because you want more of a baked potato versus a potato chip type of feel, then don't soak them. You'll be fine. Just cook them until they're completely done and they'll be delicious. All right, same thing with the next one. All right, there we go. I only did 2 of those little half-cup potatoes. In fact, this one's so little, I'm just going to keep that one out. All right, go ahead and soak that. Now, in 30 minutes, we'll be able to season up our potato and get them into the air fryer. Now, I have 2 appliances here because I wanted to show you both ways. I know a lot of my audience has the Ninja Foodie and has especially the newer series with the one smart lid that has steam and crisp technology. That was what sort of was a breakthrough in my testing of the Hasselback potatoes, because what was happening was the tops were beautiful, and about 3/4 of the way through the potato, that was all cooked fine. But that last quarter piece of the potato was not cooked. It was hard and it wasn't pleasing at all. And I played around with the temperatures and times, but found that in order to get the perfect Hasselback potato, I had to lower the temperature to like 275, 300 and cook it forever. And I'm like, there's got to be a quicker way. So one day I had the steam and crisp version of the Ninja Foodie, or I think they call it the pressure cooker and steam fryer. And I said, well, let me steam crisp it. Amazing. That little bit of water and that little bit of steam in the beginning helped really cook that bottom part of the potato, but did not inhibit the crisping at all. So I thought, well, if I'm going to make an air fryer Hasselback potato recipe, I can't just have it be able to be done in the Ninja Foodie because not everybody has one with the one lid and the steam crisp technology. So I thought, well, let me grab my regular air fryer because I think basket style air fryers are pretty normal. If you have an air fryer, a lot of them are basket styles. So what I did was I added some water to the bottom. So mine has, this is the Ninja Foodie Dual Air Fryer, but any basket air fryer will work. Mine has a little crisping plate that I like in this recipe especially, but even other recipes, because the water sits underneath of it. The heat of the air fryer steams the water, and it worked really well to get that lower portion of the potato cooked perfectly. So that's my little secret. I add a little bit of water, a half of a cup to be exact, to the basket. Now, if you don't have a basket style or you don't have a rack, like any kind of thing that fits in your air fryer that will hold the potato up above the water, because you really don't want it sitting in the water, then you can make something with foil that looks like this. So I just took a piece of foil, made a little rope, and then sort of put it around to fit the size potato. So what you would do is put your potato right on top like that. Okay, that's gonna raise it up from the water, and so it's not sitting right in that liquid, okay? So that's another little workaround. And then since I'm using the dual air fryer, I figured, well, this is a good opportunity. Let me go ahead and make my Hasselback potato and a meatloaf on the other side. So that's the beauty of this one. You can change the settings. Like I'm gonna bake the meatloaf and air fry the Hasselback potato, and we're gonna have them done at about the same time. So that's what's great about this one. The other thing you can do is you don't have to just do 2 potatoes, no matter what air fryer you have. You can do as few, well, as few as one, right? Or as many as will fit into your air fryer. So in this basket, I'd probably stick to 2 or 3. You don't want to crowd your food too much, but I'd probably stick with 2 per basket in this one. The Ninja Foodie, you could probably do 4 if you arrange them on the rack correctly. That would be fine. All right, great. So let's let these finish soaking, and then I'll make up my meatloaf and we will get everything into air fry. So it's been about 30 minutes. I mean, give or take. You don't have to be exact, of course. You can even leave them in longer if you want. Now I'm going to dry the potato off. The reason why I do that is because I like to coat mine with oil. I think it helps, well, definitely helps with the crisping. And I also like to put salt on the bottom. I put like a coarse kosher salt on the bottom, and then I sprinkle the top with more of, like a regular everyday salt, which I use a fine grind sea salt for that. So once you have your potato, and if these little pieces fall out, it's no big deal. But you're going to cut yours better than I did mine, I'm sure. All right, and then I go and I put the potato in the oil, rub it around, and I get a little messy here because I like to take the oil down in between the layers here to get them coated. Now you could do this, honestly, with a pastry brush. That's probably what I should have grabbed. It'd be a little bit cleaner. And you could also use a spray bottle if you wanted. I'm not sure why I didn't do that, because I didn't do it, right? All right, that looks good. And now just the bottom, I roll. Bottom and just up the sides a little bit in this coarser salt. And repeat that for the next potato as well. Or as many as you're making. If you don't get in between each one, don't worry about it. We're going to baste it midway through cooking anyway, so it's not the end of the world. You can also skip the oil. That's no problem either. All right. And then do the same thing here. The reason why I don't cover all of the potato with the coarse salt is because I find that it just gets a little bit too salty. So I don't like to do that. I'm going to move this away. This was 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So you can use 2 to 3 to a quarter cup, depending on how many potatoes you're coating. And I save that because I'm actually going to add some butter to it. And we're going to use a butter olive oil to baste our potatoes. So let me go ahead and get my hands washed, and then we will get everything into the air fryer. All right, now I'm just gonna put a little bit of salt on the top. And so this is a 1/4 teaspoon, and really just put a little bit over. So 1/4 teaspoon for both is gonna be plenty. And of course, you can put whatever seasonings you want. In fact, I didn't even use the whole 1/4 teaspoon. Put whatever seasonings you want on your potato. I mean, that's the beauty of the Hasselback. Like, I'm going to show them plain today. I'm not going to top them with a bunch of things, but you can top them with anything you like. You can make them loaded, you know, with cheese and bacon and sour cream and all kinds of things. You can even put like a nacho cheese sauce or something and maybe some chili, and I'll show you how you can pull out individual ones, and like they're delicious, like a potato, a nacho or something. Oh my gosh, so delicious. All right, I've got my meatloaf ready to go. I'm gonna put that into slot 1 here, and into slot 2, I'm gonna pour in 1/2 cup of just regular room temperature water. I'm gonna throw my potato in there, and we'll close that up. And then the same thing with the Ninja. I'm gonna use the steam and crisp function on this model. If you have a Ninja Foodi and you wanna do it without, you don't have this model, that's perfectly fine. You can do 1 or 2 things. You can put your 1/2 cup of water in, you can steam for about 5 minutes and then switch lids and continue on to air crisp. That's probably what I would do. Or you can just go straight to air crisp and just put your water in the bottom, kind of like I'm doing here in this air fryer. So I'm gonna put the 1/2 cup in the bottom. I have the crisping plate in. That's what I'm using here. You could use the basket, which this model doesn't come with, but if you have one, you can use that. You could use the rack if you wanted, whatever you like. And now I'm just gonna put the potato right there in the center and get these down. Now, the timings are gonna be a little bit different, okay? Because this model is going to steam and then crisp. So what it does is about, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes of steam time, which will show as preheating on the unit. So it's about the same time in total, but I'm gonna set it a little bit differently. So let me go ahead and do that first. To go to the steam crisp, we go to the center section. We're gonna turn the Ninja Foodi on. All right, so first I'm gonna set the temperature. Now, when you're using the steam and crisp function, you set the temperature for your air crisping. You don't set the temperature for the steam. The steam is what it is. You don't need to worry about that. So we're gonna take it to 375. And then I'm gonna take the time up to 35 minutes. All right, and then we hit the start stop button. All right, there we go. Now it's preheating. That means that it's gonna boil that water. It's gonna produce the steam. You don't need to worry about where your valve is when you're doing steam and crisp, okay? So it can be vented, it can be sealed. It makes no difference in that function. The only function you really need to worry about it with this model is pressure cook. All right, so I've got my meatloaf in now. I wanna bake my meatloaf. This is one of the beauties of this dual air fryer, which I really love. I don't do a lot of videos with it, and honestly, I don't use it a lot, but I love it, and I love the concept of it where you can do 2 different things, 2 different settings, and it works great. So let's go ahead and start our meatloaf. That's gonna be basket 1. We're gonna go to the bake function. I'm gonna bake it at 325, and the time is gonna be 45 minutes. Now it might need a little more time than that. I'm using 1 pound of ground beef, and then some of my meatloaf seasonings and stuff. It may take longer than that. This is just kind of just for demonstration. I haven't tested this recipe in this machine, so I'm not sure. All right, so we can go ahead and start that. Now for the potato, I want to definitely select 2. I want to go to air fry. And we're gonna take our temperature down to 350, okay? There is a reason for that. And it's a smaller space. It conducts heat like a little bit more concentrated, if you will. So I found that if I went up to 375, I was kind of getting too done on the top. So for this type of basket air fryer, I do 350. And then the time is going to be 45 minutes. And hit start. So now we have both sides going, and they're gonna finish relatively the same time. And this one is also going to finish relatively about the same time. So now we just leave it alone. What I like to recommend whenever you're doing anything with a steam and crisp, even though you can open the lid at any time, don't do that until 10 minutes after your crisping, the fan engages and it starts crisping. So 10 minutes into the crisp cycle, you can open the lid and start to check on your food. Prior to that, you still have all that steam built, so you don't want to let it out because it's still helping to cook that food more efficiently, because steam cooks faster and more efficiently than any kind of dry heat, okay? So definitely there is an advantage to using some steam prior to air crisp when you have food that's dense and tends not to evenly cook like a potato. Okay, so we're just gonna leave it alone, and when this hits about the 20-minute mark, so when we're gone about 15 minutes or so, I will check on the potato just to make sure that it's not getting too brown on the top, and see, do I need to make adjustments in temperatures? Because these are the things that you should be always looking at when you're cooking. Recipes are guidelines. They are not the end-all be-all. So your potato might be colder in temperature. Therefore, it might take longer than mine does. Your potato might be bigger. It's going to take longer. If it's real big, like a pound potato, you may need to go down to 300 or even 275 for, an hour to even 90 minutes to get it cooked perfectly. So those are the adjustments that you need to make at home based on what food you're cooking and how you like it. You may not like your Hasselback as crispy as I do. If that's the case, lower your temperature some, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start checking on our potato. I'm gonna leave the meatloaf alone for right now. And oh, it's looking so pretty. See how the little slits are opening up? What I like to do is take a temperature deep down into the potato, okay? And we want it to be over 200 degrees, which it is just about. It's 208. So really, we're pretty much done. So what I like to do now is baste it with this butter. Get in all of those grooves. This is 2 tablespoons of butter mixed with the rest of the olive oil that was left over. So there was probably about maybe 2 teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon of the olive oil. And now just baste it all over with the butter. And when you're basting it, try to fan them out a little bit. That gives that beautiful accordion look that is typical of a Hasselback. All right, perfect. We'll go ahead and put that back in, and let's check on this one now. All right, this one looks good too. It's not quite as open as the other one, but that's no problem. It's still gonna be perfect. Baste it, and I'll take a temperature of this one as well. We're getting close there, not quite up to the 200 degrees. So we're gonna go ahead and go back down. Now let me check on the meatloaf too, see how we're doing with that, because I can always bump up the heat if I need to get it done at the same time. Looks good. We're at about 150, so, I think we're going to be just fine and dandy. Yeah, we're just about at 150. Now would be a great time if you want to put a glaze on your meatloaf. But since I'm just making this for later, I'm going to reheat it. I will put the glaze on when I go to reheat it so that it doesn't burn. The glaze that I use, this is an Italian themed meatloaf, so a lot of Italian seasonings in the mix. I'm testing the recipe, so if it's delicious, I'll get it up on the website soon. But the topping I'm going to use is some tomato paste, a little bit of balsamic vinegar, and some brown sugar. So real simple, but it bakes on and it makes it delicious. All right, we're all done. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. All right, look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. Now for the finishing touches, what I like to do is take some of this butter and oil. Now you can see it's cooled down some, but that's gonna be perfectly fine. It's a little thicker. Go all over the outside, get on the inside of as many of these little pieces as you can. And then I just sprinkle a little bit of salt. Now I'm gonna keep these very basic, so I'm not adding any toppings, but you can, like I said, add anything you want. If you wanna add bacon, what I like to do is, of course, crisp the bacon up first, and then like put them into the little pieces here. It makes it really, really delicious. Top it with green onions, sour cream, anything you want. Shredded cheese, absolutely anything. All right, let me get this one out because it is done. Now you can see it's a little bit different looking. Oh, I hope I don't make it fall apart. Let me pull this out. Oh, I'm trying not to get it to break apart. Oh, a little bit. No, there we go. Perfect. All right, put this back in and I will turn off. Stop. Okay, so now we're gonna keep going with the meatloaf for a little bit. All right, so they look a little bit different. Now this one is a little less crispy. That is because it was further away from the heat source. So if I wanted it to look like this, I would probably take my temperature up to about 400 degrees and I would get these more crispy outside. So this would be good serving with a bunch of toppings. This one is the way that I like it because I just like to pick them out. But first, let's do this. We need to get a little bit of the butter basted on. And then we want to sprinkle with salt. Of course, that's optional. It's just the way I like to do it. You could also sprinkle with some pepper. But aren't these gorgeous? I mean, really, they're just beautiful. All right, so you want your potatoes on the inside, the very inside, to be at least 200 degrees. Both of these are. Now, you can just pick one of these out. Look at that. So you have the crispy edge of like a potato chip with a soft baked potato. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is my favorite way. Oh my gosh. So, so good. Now, these should pull apart too. If they're done, they do. But you can see less crispy edges. That's just temperature control. But still, perfectly cooked. It's that little bit of water that really makes a difference. That steam in the beginning. Oh my gosh. So amazing. So there you have it. Really, really simple ways to make a Hasselback potato. Now let's check on that meatloaf real quick. Yep, we are up to temperature. It's actually reading about 180. So we can go ahead and turn this off. So my meatloaf is falling apart. Like horribly falling apart. I'd consider that kind of a fail for a meatloaf. Not sure why. I've made this before and it worked out fine, but you know, hey, things happen. We are definitely up to temperature, so that's not the issue. Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, there we go. My fall apart meatloaf. But who cares, right? Who cares? Let's take a taste. Hot. The flavors are really good. Now, but the texture isn't right. So anyway, this is not a video about meatloaf. I just wanted to show that you could do two things at the same time. Obviously, this is not ready for primetime recipe yet. I don't understand it, but hey, it happens. I made the meat mixture up the night before, last night. Had it in the refrigerator and then brought it out. So I don't really know what happened, but anyway, it fell apart. You know, things happen. Definitely try your hand at making the Hasselback potatoes. Not only are they stunning on a plate, they're super easy to make and they're absolutely delicious. Oh, I just love them. And I love to eat them just like this.